So good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining this joint EURADA-EUIPO seminar, webinar on intellectual property. Before introducing the speakers for this webinar, let me first perhaps walk you through the agenda very quickly. So we will have a short introductory speech by myself, Francesco Molica. I am the newly appointed director of EURADA for those who still do not know me. Then I leave the floor to Alexandra Apostolakis, who is Head of Service Business Development Department at EUIPO. Who will also introduce the seminar on behalf of EUIPO, and then we will delve into the two main points that are going to be addressed today by our friends, colleagues from EUIPO. We will have a presentation on the 2025 edition of the SME Fund from Franciska Schönherr, Business Development Department of EUIPO. And then we will have a presentation from Franciska Schönherr on protecting traditional craft and industrial products under the EU geographical indications framework, so on the GIs indeed framework. In the end, the seminar will be closed again by myself and Richelle Speakerman, who is also working for the Business Development Department of EUIPO. Before getting started, perhaps some housekeeping rules. Upon joining the webinar, please make sure to keep your microphone switched off to avoid background noise. We would encourage you to ask questions via the chat, and we can also, of course, give you the floor. So you can also use the feature of Zoom with the hand raise, right? And of course, since the time that we have today is rather limited, because this is a webinar of 1 hour and a half, and we are already a little bit behind schedule, right? We would kindly ask you to, when asking a question, to go straight to the point, to keep it short in order to let everyone then speak and give enough time to our speakers to answer the questions. So without further ado, I would say that we shall start. I wanted to say some very few words before leaving the floor to our colleagues from the European Union Intellectual Property Office. First of all, I'm delighted that we are organizing this joint seminar. Of course, this is not the first time. This event marks another important step in the ongoing collaboration between EURADA on the one hand and the European Union Intellectual Property Office on the other hand, in order to bring the topic of intellectual property closer to regional actors, and regional actors that, such as the regional development agencies, are very much important, are playing play a critical role for Europe's innovation ecosystems. As you know, I believe many of you know already, since 2021, EURADA and the EUIPO have been collaborating under a memorandum of understanding, whose main goal is indeed to strengthen the role of regional actors in promoting and supporting the strategic use of intellectual property. This agreement is not symbolic, but it clearly reflects a recognition that intellectual property is a powerful enabler of innovation, competitiveness, and economic resilience for regions and local SMEs and startups. It's not a would say, top-down dimension aspect, but it also has a very strong bottom-up dimension at local level. Let me also stress that EURADA is also part of the Ideas Power for Business network, which has been established by EUIPO to bring together various organizations that have a role in supporting SMEs across Europe. So it's a network of networks spearheaded by EUIPO. The last meeting of this tool took place a month ago, and we did attend gladly, and our president Giacomo was there too, and our president Theo Follings also had the chance to contribute to the discussions that took place in the context of the annual gathering of this network. Regarding today's agenda, we will have, as I was saying, a presentation of the SME Fund and also a presentation on the EU geographical indications framework for craft and industrial products. These two dimensions, these two areas, aspects, points are extremely important, in my opinion, also from a local perspective. As you know, as we all know, as regional development agencies, or as in our case, as the association in Europe that represent regional development agencies, innovation is a very much localized phenomenon. It happens in specific places. It concentrates in specific places. But without proper protection, the benefits of innovation at local level can in fact be lost because of imitation, market exclusion, or simple lack of visibility. That is why, from the perspective also of EURADA, intellectual property is critical. And that's why we are here today. That's why we have this memorandum of understanding with the EUIPO, and that's why we are here today in this webinar, because we firmly believe that IP is essential for regional development, and it can be a critical strategic enabler of regional growth, in that it allows innovators to capture the value they create, attract investment, and scale their solution. Now, why is this collaboration with the EUIPO so relevant for regional development agencies? Because regional development agencies are, in many cases, the first institutional contact points for SMEs and startups seeking funding, advice, or support to scale. And because regional development agencies understand the unique industrial and innovation ecosystems of their territories, therefore their position make them perfectly in the front line in acting as IP multipliers and enablers, or even facilitators. That is, by helping local actors navigate the complexity of the IP systems, connecting them to relevant services such as the SME Fund, indeed, and raising awareness about how trademarks, patents, designs, and trade can be strategic assets. Let me stress that many members of our network and many regional development agencies in Europe in general already act as IP desks or contact points, providing hands-on support to SMEs in accessing IP services, giving advice to them on this issue, and ensuring in general that intellectual property becomes an integral part of their business growth and innovation journeys. Therefore, the partnership with EUIPO, and I cannot stress this enough, is therefore critical in further enabling our RDAs to act in this role, to strengthen this service that many RDAs are already offering to their local SMEs. This collaboration also helps bridge the gap between IP policy at EU level and innovation practices at regional level, right? So the top-down, I would say, and bottom-up dimensions. Looking at our dimension, our ambition, sorry, is to deepen this partnership, expanding services and outreach reach activities. So to conclude, I would like to thank the colleagues from EUIPO for joining us today and for also offering their guidance through this webinar to our members. I'm sure that by working together, we can unlock the full potential of Europe's regions to innovate, compete, and thrive in a fast-changing global economy. So thank you very much. And now I am very happy to leave the floor to Alexandra Apostolakis, who is indeed Head of Service, Customer Networks Management, Business Development Department of EUIPO, and will also introduce the main topics that are going to be discussed today. Alessandra, floor is yours. Over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Francesco. Good morning, dear EURADA members. I'm really happy to be able to join you and listen on this very interesting webinar. So on behalf of the EUIPO, I warmly welcome you to the 4th annual EURADA EUIPO webinar on intellectual property. A sincere thank you to EURADA for our excellent cooperation since 2021, as Francesco mentioned, on this series of events, and for once again highlighting the importance of IP in turning innovation into commercial success across Europe and its regions. Strengthening IP use, particularly among smaller businesses, contributes to the broader efforts to drive growth, competitiveness, and innovation outlined in the European Commission's Competitive Compass and in response to the Draghi and Letta reports. The evidence of IP's economic impact is clear. Companies with IP rights generate higher revenue per employee, pay higher wages, and scale more effectively. SMEs with registered IP earn 44% more per employee and are 21% more likely to grow over a 3-year period. Startups that protect their innovations early are significantly more likely to attract investment. This is why in 2025 we'll continue supporting SMEs with the protection of their IP through the SME Fund, which has so far received over 100,000 applications since its launch in 2021. You will hear more details about this year's edition of the fund in today's session from my colleague Francesca Schönherr. We're also happy to let you know that the role of our office is also expanding, allowing for a more comprehensive approach to protecting various IP rights in Europe. The EUIPO is now the authority responsible for managing the protection of geographical indications for craft and industrial products at EU level, and we're going live with this in December of this year. Products such as Murano glass and Solingen cutlery are examples of GIs that connect quality to specific regions. The second part of this webinar will provide valuable information of this new GI scheme, which can boost regional competitiveness. And this will be done by another Franciska Schönherr this time. I'm surrounded by Francescos and Franciscas today. This has been quite a tongue twister. So to conclude, I would like to echo EURADA's president, Mr. Theo Völling, and what he said at the Ideas Powered for Business Network event in Alicante at the end of April. We must shift the perception of IP from just a legal shield to a strategic business asset, supporting entrepreneurs from innovation to market expansion and hopefully full commercial success. Reaching out to entrepreneurs in all EU regions is a mission the EUIPO cannot achieve alone. That is why we rely on EURADA and its members as part of the Ideas Powered for Business Network to help promote the benefits of the IP system among innovative entrepreneurs in your constituencies. I wish you a productive and informative session today. Thank you for your attention, and I'll pass the floor now to the next speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alexandra, also for your kind words about this collaboration that, of course, we are very delighted to have and continue over time with the EUIPO. And now let's indeed leave the floor to Francesca for the presentation on the SME Fund. The floor is yours, Francesca.
Thank you very much, Francesco. Thank you very much, Alexandra. Good morning, everyone. Very happy to be here today to present the SME Fund in 2025. So let me start now with saying that this is an initiative that has started with a pilot phase in 2021 and was a success, and therefore the European Commission and the EUIPO decided to continue supporting the SMEs in protecting their intellectual property rights with a multi-annual program, which started in 2022 and was supposed to end in 2024, but because the initiative is a success and also it's actually very felt as a need from SMEs to have this kind of financial support, the initiative was extended to 2025. The initiative has changed over the years, meaning has improved, because based on the lesson learned, also on the feedback from the partner, from the national offices, from the beneficiaries, we have tried to adapt more the fund to the needs of the SMEs in order also to reach more beneficiaries. So this year we have some elements which are always in common, like of course the eligible beneficiaries are always SMEs based in the EU and in the Ukrainian territory under the control of the government. The term to apply has started on the 3rd of February and is scheduled to close in December, but this depends also on the budget availability. Of course, more application we have, the funds will run quickly out, so we might need to close before, like this was the example for the voucher 3 and voucher 4, as you might know, is currently closed, but happily we are going to reopen it again on 2nd of June because we actually reinject money that were not used from previous years by the SMEs, and we reinject in the budget of 2025 in order to continue supporting the SMEs along the year. The IP activities included are always the same. We have the IP scan services, the trademarks and designs, the patents, the community plant varieties. And in these slides, you already have some kind of information about the amounts, but we will go to the next slides where we have actually the overview of the fund and we'll go into details. As you know, then 2025 is already still ongoing, not the application because of course was closed, but we have all the part about the implementation, the reimbursement of the vouchers. And of course, 2025 is also running in parallel. The SMEs can request one voucher per type of IP activity per year. It means that if they have already requested voucher 2 under the 2025, they cannot request another voucher 2. But if they have requested in the past, like in 2022, 23, 24, they can request again voucher 2 for 2025, but only to get reimbursed for a different IP right. It means that if they have registered a trademark in 2024, they cannot request a reimbursement for the trademark in 2024. This initiative is very important. We always say to the beneficiary, is not retroactive. Is a reimbursement for a cost that the beneficiary has incurred, but after having applied to the SME fund and after having received actually the grant notification letter that have been awarded. But we'll go into details also for this later on. Beneficiary that have already applied to the SME fund in previous years, they have right for a fast track process, which is very, very nice because of course they already have all the documents uploaded in their account. So they don't have to re-upload the documents again. They don't have to fill again in the login or create a login, create an account. They just have to, of course, go to the login and apply, send an application, meaning virtually for 2025, unless of course the documents have changed, so the information have changed, like the bank account or anything else, then they have to, of course, reapply again, probably create a new account. But if nothing has changed, they have right for a fast track. We also invite very much the beneficiary to use one functionality that has been now active since last year, which is renounce to the voucher. What does it mean? That once the beneficiary has been awarded with a voucher and they use the voucher, so they activate the voucher, we are going to look at this terminology later on. So they request a reimbursement for a voucher. It might be that some balance is left for the voucher. If they don't intend to use that balance, so if they don't intend to request other reimbursement for that type of voucher, we invite the SMEs to renounce to the balance, because it's very important that in this sense we unlock the money that are currently blocked for that SMEs, this money goes back to the budget of the SME fund, and of course we can award more SMEs. This slide shows it's very, very simple, very basic, but it's very important. The SMEs will look at the definition from the European Commission about what is an SMEs, and we'll look at this graph and look at the table and see if it can actually recognize the SMEs in one of these categories, if it's a micro, small, or a medium. This slide shows the overview of 2025. Few things have changed, always, as I said, based on the experience, on the lesson learned, because we want to improve. We want to reach more beneficiaries. So we looked at what's done on the lesson learned, and something have been adjusted. As you can see in this slide, in the table, you have here underlined in an orange color all the things that have changed comparing to the past. We're going to have a look at each of the voucher into details. Let's start with voucher 1, IP scan services, because we include IP scan and IP scan enforcement. As you can see, the activity fees are not changed. The coverage, of course, is national level. The reimbursement is always 90%, and the value maximum is 1,350. What it means that each country has its own value, its own cost for this service. So this is the maximum available. And here you can have the list of all the countries that either provide only IP scan or only IP scan enforcement, or you have some countries that provide both services. It's very important that I want to underline that if you don't see your country in this list, this does not mean that a country does not offer an IP scan service. Only it doesn't offer under the SME fund. So very important, because this is a very important service for an SME to understand their business strategy, which kind of IP rights to protect. So we invite, if the country is not there, to contact anyway your national office, because you might have anyway access to this kind of service under different instrument. Activation period and implementation period. This year, for the IP scan, we have an activation period of 6 months. Activation period means that once the SME received the grant notification letter where we award the voucher, from that point onwards, the SMEs can initiate the activity. It means that in this case, can contact the national offices, can get the list of IP professionals that can offer an IP scan service, then get the IP scan report from the IP professional, pay for the service, and therefore then request the partial reimbursement to the SME fund. In this case, will be 90% of the cost that they have incurred. To do so, they have 6 months period to complete the circuit. It's very important, I always say, and in this presentation, you will see this often, because this is a kind of issue, and we don't want the SMEs to risk to losing the vouchers. It's very important that an SME can apply to the SME fund when they are ready. So we invite the SME not to tick all the vouchers just randomly, but just have a look at what they need in that moment, what they are prepared for. For example, I'm prepared to ask for an IP scan service to my national office. Fantastic. Then you apply for voucher 1. Once you know which kind of IP right you should actually protect from this report, then you apply again for the SME fund, and you apply for the trademark in case it's a trademark, or for a patent in case it's a patent. If you don't do so, and then you apply randomly for all the vouchers, there is a limit to use the vouchers. If you don't use it during that period, which is not too short but not too long, then you lose the voucher expires, and you cannot apply anymore this year. So the activation period is only 6 months for the voucher 1, and there is no implementation period. The implementation period I will explain then later for the other vouchers, because it's not applicable for this one. So as I say, we have 2 IP scan services, and the SMEs can actually get 2 vouchers. No, they can apply for IP scan and then IP scan enforcement, but they have to apply in 2 different weeks. This is a technical reason, so they can send an application first week for an IP scan and then the next week for an IP scan enforcement. This is a recap of what it means this 6 months period. So what the SME should have in this 6 months period. That's why it's something that you have to do when you're ready to apply. Here, this slide will describe a bit IP scan, as we know is a very important tool that actually help the SMEs to analyze their business strategy through IP professionals that will give you some advice on which IP right it's better to protect. Of course, the SMEs must be established in the country where an eligible IP scan provider is available. That means that an SME based in Bulgaria cannot, of course, request an IP scan from a national office in Italy. The IP scan enforcement is a different type of tool which comes in a later stage. Maybe, for example, you are infringing some kind of IP right, or you are actually victim of this, or you are at risk of a potential conflict. So this is a tool that actually helps you out during this type of issue. Let's move to voucher 2, trademarks and design. This is the most wanted voucher. So you see the fees included are not changed. The coverage geographically is always the same. We have the national, regional, EU levels and international, and they apply different type of reimbursement. The value has changed. So from 1,000 euros last year, we moved to 700 euros. It's not because we don't want to give much money, but because it's based actually on the real use of the voucher. And we see that the beneficiary has always used up to 700 euros of the voucher. So this is also made from a kind of sound financial management. So we don't want to block with no reason money, because if we block money, we might not able to award more SMEs. So that's why we changed the value based actually on the real use of the vouchers from the beneficiary. The activation period in this case is 1 month plus 1 month. It means that the beneficiary has 1 month's time to send first request for reimbursement, and then if they don't feel ready in that month, they can extend over further 1 month. This is always related to the fact that the SMEs must be ready before applying to the SME fund. It means that if they want to apply, for example, to register a trademark at EU level, they should first inform and see which documents they need to fulfill, which information are needed to send their application in the system. Once they have all the information ready, they can apply to the SME fund. They will get rewarded because it's very rare that we reject, unless, of course, they have been already awarded or unless information are not complete, but then you can apply again. So you get then the grant notification letter, and then you can start your application process, for example, at EUIPO. So you have 1 month to start this process, to pay for the service, and then to send the request for reimbursement. Once you have validated your vouchers, activated your vouchers, we send a first request for reimbursement, then the implementation period starts. The 6 months period, it means that the SME has still time to request further request for reimbursement. Assuming you have sent a request for reimbursement for 200 euros, you get for an international level. Then you get 50% reimbursed, so 100 euros out of the 700 euros were already reimbursed. You have a balance of 600 euros in your voucher, so you can still use this money to do some other type of IP rights, for example, an application at EU level, an application at national level. So you can still use that balance. If you don't intend to use that balance, we always say, please renounce to that balance so that it goes back to the budget for other SMEs. We move now to patents. Here we have changed the value. So we have split between national patent and prior art search with a value of 1,000 euros and European patents and legal cost for a value of 2,500 euros in total. Or also here in activation period of 1 month plus 1 month and implementation period of 6 months. National prior art search. So we have a total amount of 1,000 euro vouchers that covers, as we said, the prior art search that can be delivered by the national offices or the Visegrad Patent Institute, and of course the national patent filing, search, examination. On the other side, we have the European patent plus the legal cost voucher for a total amount of 2,500, split between legal cost voucher for 1,500 and of course the reimbursement of the patent filing at 1,000. It's very important that the legal cost will be reimbursed only if the drafting and the filing has been delivered by EUIPO authorized patent representative. And here you have an hyperlink that you can always have a look at. So you always can request also both vouchers, like the IP scan service. But the important is that the application is made in 2 different weeks. This week you apply for a national patent, next week you apply for a European patent. Always be careful, please, that the SMEs should be ready for these applications, because you might need more than 2 months to get ready with the documents. So it's better that you get ready before with all the documentation that you need. And then once you receive your grant notification letter, you're ready to go to send your application to EPO or the national offices. For community plant varieties, also here we have just modified the activation period in line with the other vouchers. So 1 month plus 1 month and 6 months implementation period. This slide is quite interesting always for an SMEs to give you really what we are talking about. So basically, for example, if you look at your trademark, the regular fee is 850 euros and the SMEs will get a reimbursement of 75%, meaning 637. So at the end, the cost incurred by the beneficiary is only 212 euros. This gives you the idea really of the important financial support that this initiative is providing. Now we move a bit to the part where we talk about the application. So once they apply, we have 15 working days to either award the vouchers or ask for a further clarification in case, for example, a document is missing or something is not clear in the application, or reject, of course, the application. And this happens only if, for example, you have not replied to our request for clarification, but in this sense, you can apply again. Or you are not eligible because you are not an SMEs, you are an SMEs, but you are not in Europe or in Ukraine, or you have already been awarded with that voucher that year. So here, this is, of course, a slide that shows you the activation implementation period in more details that we already have looked at. Important things always that we keep in mind is that you can apply when you're ready. We are never tired enough to say it. You can only use for IP activities that they cover. Of course, you cannot use voucher to trademarks to cover fees for a patent. And not transferable. And SMEs cannot, of course, donate their voucher to other SMEs. These are a bit tips that I've been already saying during these slides. It's very important that you look at this. This slide shows you a bit the circuit that we follow. So you applied for the voucher, for the grant, you receive your grant award, the vouchers, then you request and pay for your IP activities, and then you get reimbursed, because this is not a retroactive initiative. So you first incur a cost, and then we reimburse that cost, part of the cost. This is the link to the page where you have all the information on the application. You have FAQs, you have also chat online. I mean, it's plenty of information. We have tried really to cover all the doubts possible, but of course, we are always available here to reply to your question through the customer care. You can also contact your national offices or our email. I will quickly move now to this important initiative that also we have, which goes along with the SME Fund, that we want to also bring to your attention. It's the pro bono support. Is an initiative which is made also to support the SMEs along the way. So it's a network of IP professionals that are willing to provide for free their services, their advice, their support on IP matters, on IP rights. The SMEs has right to this service only once. The IP professional, of course, they need to be established in one of the EU countries, and they are entitled, of course, to provide this service. The relationship between the SMEs and the IP professional is up to them, so they can establish the type of cooperation or collaboration. 1 hour, 2 hours is up to them. But our role is just to provide a network that they can refer to for this free service. And as you can see, also I will provide you the link. So it goes, you fill out and send the form, the request for a pro bono support. we will see if your support, of course, request is eligible, and then we will provide you the list of IP professional that you can choose from which one you want to contact, and then we will be really grateful to receive also your feedback in order always to improve this tool. As you can see, the pro bono support has a positive impact. 77% would recommend pro bono to another SMEs, so we really appreciate if you can also, you know, spread the word around, because this is a very valuable initiative for the office and for the beneficiary. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Any questions are more than welcome.
Thank you very much, Francesca, for this very comprehensive presentation of these two different instruments. And I can leave the floor now to Franciska Schönherr.
Okay, so thank you, Francesco and Alexander, for the introduction, and also to you, EURADA, for inviting me to this webinar. So I'm going to give a brief overview of the new EU framework for geographical indications, or GIs, for craft and industrial products. Okay, moving to the next slide. Yeah, okay. So this is what we will look at. First, the state of play of the new craft and industrial GI scheme, then the role of the EUIPO and its main responsibilities in this scheme. I will also give a brief overview of the basic features, procedures, and benefits of the new protection system. And I will speak about the main requirements for GI protection. You will also see the Office digital system, that is the IT tools and databases that the EUIPO manages to in connection with GIs. And last, I will mention the fees for registering a craft or industrial GI at the EUIPO. So first, some words about the background of the new craft and industrial GI protection system. EU law already protects GIs for agricultural products, foodstuffs, wines, and spirit drinks. However, there was no EU-wide mechanism to protect the names of craft or industrial products. So some examples, some known examples are Murano glass, Soling cutlery, Donegal tweed, Hallas lace, or Gablon jewelry. So with this new scheme for GIs for craft and industrial products in place, any GI that falls within the scope of the regulations will receive a unitary title once it is registered. This means that the GI will be protected throughout the territory of the EU. And these titles do not expire, meaning that their protection is unlimited in time. Now, so this is the current EU legal framework. So on the one hand, there's the new regulation 2023/2411 for craft and industrial GIs. And on the other hand, the main regulation that covers GIs in the fields of agricultural products, foodstuffs, wines, and spirit drinks. Important to note that the EUIPO will be competent for craft and industrial GIs, whereas the European Commission, or more specifically the Directorate General for Agricultural and Rural Development, will continue to receive applications for agricultural GIs and also to take decisions on the registration of these GIs. So two different bodies are competent for GIs in the different areas. And what is the state of play of the new scheme for crafts and industrial GIs? So the regulation was published in the EU official journal in October of 2023. However, most of the provisions will only apply from 1st of December of this year. So that is also when the EUIPO can receive the first application, first applications for craft and industrial GIs. So once the EUIPO starts receiving applications from December of this year, it's going to be entrusted with the union level assessment of the registration and of other procedures connected with the registration. It will manage the union register for GIs, and it will also have the role of competent authority in EUIPO's international registration system. Yeah, so as shown on this slide, the EUIPO will be responsible for the entire process of registering GIs for craft and industrial products. So the GI division, which is a team of experienced examiners, will examine applications, publish them for opposition, and also take a decision on applications. The EUIPO's boards of appeal will be competent for handling any possible appeals to first instance decisions. So in principle, the EUIPO is going to be responsible for taking decisions on registration of craft and industrial GI. There is, the regulation does provide for an exception. So the European Commission may take over a file from the EUIPO where the registration of a proposed GI could be contrary to public policy, or where the registration or rejection of a name could jeopardize the EU's trade or external relations. So in addition, the EUIPO will provide IT tools and IT solutions to facilitate the application process. I will speak a bit more about the Office digital system in a moment. And the EUIPO will also be involved in GI applications from third countries that will be protected under other legal instruments, so not under the GI and craft, the craft and industrial GI regulation. And what are the basic features and benefits of the new scheme for GIs, for craft and industrial products? So first, the regulation provides for balanced criteria for protection as regards the territorial link, so the link between the product and its geographical origin. But I will explain a bit more about the criteria of protection in one of the coming slides. Then important to notice, the standard procedure under the regulation will be or is a two-phase registration procedure. So first, the GI application will be examined by national or local authorities. And then once the application has been approved at the national phase, it will be forwarded to the IPO for a union level procedure, for the union level examination and also for the registration of the title. This involvement of national authorities in the first phase, so in the national phase of the registration procedure, allows for optimal use of local and regional expertise, which is necessary to assess the so-called product specification. So a product specification in GIs is a technical document that sets out the conditions with which any product that is marketed under the GI, so that uses the GI, has to comply. And this national phase will also make it easier for local producers which are often small or even micro businesses, to communicate or interact with their local administrations and to receive any necessary guidance in their own language. So the EUIPO will only be in charge of the second phase of this, so of the EU phase of this registration procedure and of the actual registration of the GI in the Union Register. There are some exceptions to this principle of a two-stage procedure, which I will explain briefly in the next slide. Maybe also just to mention that the regulation establishes a uniform system of protection that will replace any prior existing national rights. So by 2nd December of 2026, national protection will cease to exist. Yeah, so as already mentioned or announced, the regulation provides for 3 types of procedures for registering a GI in the EU. So first, as regards GIs for products that originate in the European Union, they will usually be registered through the standard procedure, so due to the two-phase registration procedure, where the EUIPO will only be in charge of the union phase. And for those member states that have opted out from providing a national phase, applications have to be submitted through the direct procedure. So in those cases, applications will be submitted directly to the IPO. So just for your information, for now, 7 member states have requested an opt-out from providing a national phase in the registration procedure. And those are the Netherlands, Sweden, Luxembourg, Lithuania, Malta, Denmark, and Finland. So those member states, even if there's no national competent authority that will deal with the national examination of the application, there would still be a so-called single point of contact, and this single point of contact will provide assistance both to applicants and also to the IPO during the application procedure. And last, there's also a direct procedure for craft and industrial products that originate from outside the EU, so from third countries. And in those cases, the GI already has to be protected in the country of origin. So now we will look at some of the general rules for GI protection. So under the regulation, a name of a craft or industrial product can be protected by a PGI, so protected indication of origin. And the use of this union PGI symbol in the sector of craft and industrial products is voluntary. So this symbol can be used, for example, on the packaging of a craft or industrial product, or also on online sales websites. So however, even if the use is optional, the use of this symbol is recommended to make crafts and industrial products with a GI better known to consumers, and also to make it easier to identify them on the market and to facilitate checks of compliance. And when can a name of a craft or industrial product be protected as a GI under the regulation? So the main requirements are first that the product originates in a specific place, region, or country. And second, that the product has features that distinguish it from products of the same category, but that are produced in other regions. And third, there has to be a link between the product and its geographical origin. So the product's given quality, reputation, or other characteristics have to be essentially attributable to its geographical origin. So there has to be a link between the specificity or the reputation of the product and the area where it's from. And another condition is that for a PGI, for a protected indication of origin, is that at least one of the production steps of the craft or industrial product takes place in the defined geographical area. So this is just to give you a better idea of what we will examine when we will receive applications for GIs. So a GI application will usually consist of the product specification, the so-called single document, and some other documentation that is required. So normally, under the standard procedure, the examination done by the GI division will focus on the so-called single document, which is a summary of the product specification. And the single document contains information about the different items you can see on the slide, which correspond to the headings of sections in the single document. So there will be information about the name to be protected as a GI. The name in the field of craft and industrial GIs can be a geographical name of the place of production of the product, and it can also be a name used to refer to the product in the area. Important to stress that the GI protects the name of the product and not the product itself. There will be information about the type of products, and the regulation actually does not contain a closed list of categories or a closed definition of what can be considered as a craft or industrial product. So there are just some examples in the preamble, such as natural stone, woodworks, jewelry, textiles, glass, porcelain, or even skins. Then there will be a description of the product, and sometimes also information on packaging and labeling. There has to be a definition, a concise definition of the geographical area, and most importantly, a description of the link between the product or the specificity of the product and the defined area. So these are some examples of names of European craft industrial products that might be protected as GIs, providing that they fulfill the requirements of the regulation. So you can see that often GIs are so-called compound names that consist of a geographical term and also of a term that describes the type of product. But this is actually not a requirement. Other types of names could be protected as well. So who can apply for a GI? In principle, an application for the registration of a GI should be submitted by a producer group, by a group of producers. This is because the GI is a collective rights, and the GI scheme should be open to any other producer who complies with the product specification. There are some exceptions to this principle, but in general, applications should be submitted by producer groups. Yeah, so as already mentioned, the EUIPO will establish and maintain a digital system for GI applications, GI portal, the Union Register for GIs, craft and industrial products, and also a database, GI View, with information about GIs registered in the European Union. So GI portal is the future e-filing system managed by the EUIPO. GI portal will be available in all official EU languages, easily accessible, and it will be mandatory for the submission of applications to the EUIPO, so for union level procedures. Member states may also use GI portal for the national phase of the registration procedure. And GI register will be the union register for GIs, for crafts and industrial products. So for each GI registered, there will be some basic data made available, including the name, the type of product, the name of the applicants. There will be a reference to the decision registering the GI, and there will be information about the country where the product originates. And I also wanted to mention GI View, which is a comprehensive database with information about GIs registered in the European Union. GI View was created by the EUIPO in cooperation with the European Commission. So as compared to the Union Register, GI View also contains additional information, for example, about competent authorities, control bodies, or producer groups. So here we can see an example taken from a GI for an agricultural product, a honey from Belgium. Because for the time being, there are actually no examples for craft or industrial GI because the system is not operational yet. So I use this one. So in the right column, you can see an excerpt from the so-called single document that I mentioned earlier, because these single documents are also available via GI View. You can access them. So what about the fees for registering a craft or industrial GI at the EUIPO? So although member states may charge a fee to recover the costs of the national phase of the application procedure, the EUIPO is not going to charge any fees in connection with the standard procedure at the union level. There are, however, some fees that will be charged in respect of the direct registration procedure, so where there's for those countries where there's no national phase, the third country applications, and also for appeals. Yeah, so for more information and also a section on frequently asked questions, you can visit our GI Hub, the GI Hub, which is a section on the EUIPO's website. Information there will be updated as more information becomes available. Unfortunately, for the time being, we do not have a list of contact points in the different member states yet. The EUIPO will also organize some online workshops with producer groups in the member states in the beginning of the summer. So those workshops will be held in the 5 office languages, which are English, French, German, Italian, and Spanish. So we can provide more information about these workshops in case you're interested. Yes, and for anything else, you can also contact me directly with specific questions, or you contact one of the organizers of this webinar and they forward the question.
I'm addressing here our members. If they have questions, they can clearly also send them to us, and we will then dispatch them to our colleagues of EUIPO. In the meantime, I have one question for each of the speakers. One on the perhaps in order. One on the pro bono support. I wanted to ask. I don't know whether it has been said. I don't think so. I wanted to ask whether the network of the legal experts that are providing this pro bono service is a I would say restricted one, or there's a possibility for other legal experts to join the network. If there is a specific process for that. This might be of interest, in fact, for some of our members, because they are providing such support already, or they may know of, aware of indeed legal experts on the ground that who might be interested indeed in this in joining this network. So
absolutely, they can join. More than welcome. So there is an application that they can, you know, I'm going to now copy here in the chat, where they can find all the information about us. But definitely more than welcome to join.
Okay, great. So this is indeed a piece of information that might be of interest indeed for our members, so that they can also spread the word, sorry, on this also, in order to help you indeed reinforce, expand this network of experts that are helping you provide this quite important service. And I would have a question on for Franciska on the standard procedure for the application for the GI. What is the average length, and whether there are specific aspects that might influence the time frame that is needed for getting then getting to the end of the procedure, because I guess there are different. I mean, even if one may have an average length, that there are differences, right, in terms of. Right.
So average length, I can't really tell you because we haven't started yet. The deadline for us to deal with an application is 6 months. So from receiving the application. But then if we find that anything has to be improved or there's something missing, we address a letter to the national authorities. And from there on, actually, the deadline stops. So then it really depends on how reactive the national authorities are, and also, of course, the producer groups, because they have to go back to the producer groups and get the information that's needed. In general, the process is, let's say, our aim is to help you to get the GI registered. So we also plan to maybe have more interaction with the national authorities now if they need help, to make it easier to speed up the process. But it depends a lot on the reactivity as well of the member states.
Okay. Thanks a lot for this clarification. I would say now we can wrap up this seminar. I then leave the floor to Richelle Spiekerman for the concluding remarks. Floor is yours. Over to you, Richelle.
So thank you very much, Francesco. And well, I'd just like to, well, dear participants, thank you very much for your attention and for being here today, your participation. We do trust that the insights and presentations will be useful and valuable for you, for your ongoing work within your organizations and also your constituencies. And well, quite a lot has already been said, so I will keep it very short, but we just want to remark again that we really believe that the collaboration between the EUIPO and EURADA is truly valuable. And the work that we have done over the years together, and also forming part now with the Ideas Powered for Business Network, which is currently part of 23 organizations in addition to EURADA, really supporting SMEs through different various means, including advocacy, funding, business development, and the promotion of innovation and IP. Together, these associations from the network, they really form a dynamic and interconnected ecosystem, I'd say, and it's playing a vital role in strengthening the EU SMEs landscape. We have seen over the years that really through our collective efforts, we really can amplify each other's impact and create an environment in which SMEs are better equipped to innovate, scale, and hopefully as well compete globally. So I would say to EURADA members, I strongly encourage you to explore which Ideas Powered for Business Network members are active in your region, and don't hesitate to get in touch with them. Francesco, you mentioned already the network annual event that took place in April. We're really happy to have EURADA there, and in order to have EURADA's president participating. And as an outcome from that event, I mean, the network really agreed on the need for action to strengthen innovation and business exploitation in the EU. So we really look forward to really further continuing our collaboration together. Just a short mention, we're pleased to announce that the IPO will be present next week in EURADA, so in Brussels. Will be thank you for this in a session of the regional development and emerging new technologies. So we would encourage you to engage with our colleague there attending in Brussels to explore any further collaboration. So thanks once again for your continued commitment and promoting IP within your network and across your regions, and hope to see you soon again.
Thank you very much, Richelle. And indeed, we are quite very glad that EUIPO can join our annual event next week and can directly contribute to one of our sessions. And indeed, this would be also an opportunity for our members to meet one of your colleagues and engage indeed with him or her on if they have specific questions or they want to reach out to you with specific requests. As far as I'm concerned, I would like once again to thank the EUIPO and all the colleagues that took the floor today for this seminar. As it was already said, it's our pleasure to have this established cooperation with your organization, and we hope that this will be continuing, of course, and be strengthened in the future, and that more joint activities can be discussed under the aegis of the Memorandum of Understanding that we have. I cannot stress enough how let's say glad we are for this cooperation, and also how this is also helpful, I believe, for our members. In regards to this very specific and critical area, for the local innovation and SME ecosystem. To conclude, thank you very much to all, and we'll keep in touch, of course, in the following weeks and months, and of course next week we will be happy to welcome EUIPO in our annual event. Thank you.
Thank you.